This is the first big day. It's 12 games. There's going to be interesting things happening all over the place. Let's take a look at those things. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and your tears say more than real evidence ever could. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. This is how we do this. We do a preview of the day, the next day. It comes out, information will update, and you'll do that as we recap the shows later, the games from Tuesday later on today. But we get this out, so there's a little bit of time to sit on it, to think about it, and just keep an eye on the things that we're previewing, right? There are 12 games on. We've got 12 games to take a look at for Wednesday. No team on Wednesday plays on Tuesday, so we don't have any back-to-backs to worry about, and injury reports are going to trickle through. So that is one of the perils, I guess, of talking about a sport like the NBA and fantasy basketball, is that no matter when you talk about something, there'll always be something that changes in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So just be aware of that when we're talking about things, things are always in a state of flux, and you always want to stay up to date as much as you can on this sort of thing. We're going to get into talking about, again, all this stuff for Wednesday. There are 12 games on. Now, for the majority of you, you will probably not have an option to stream. We will still talk about streaming in case you do, but it is imperative. Do not make panic drops. Do not push extra hard to maximize your games for this day and for this week. There is an element of caution. Make moves. Grab guys that you think are popping off. Absolutely. Right? We do that, and we try and grab those good waiver wire guys, but not just a single churn and burn stream guy just for the one day. I don't think that gives you a particularly high level of long-term success to do that. So, what are the things that we're looking at across Wednesday? What are the three big sort of storylines that we want to pay attention to here? Well, I do want to have a look at what Kal-El Ware's role is in Miami, which is complicated even further now by the fact that he has popped up on the injury report as questionable. So, a guy that some people were reaching quite high for in drafts, and I got a little bit concerned about that. Like, now there's an injury on top of it. Not good. What else do I want to see? I want to see the Celtics frontcourt. How does it play out with Cater, Boucher, Hauser, Gaza? How do they decide they're going to utilize those players? Which, of course, at this point, I don't know. And Cooper Flagg's debut. How much point guard does he play? Does he start over does he start a point guard over D'Angelo Russell? How does it all work? That's the stuff that I want to see. In terms of one of the big stream options of the day, we're taking a look at Grayson Allen. Jalen Green is out. His usage and ball handling is going to be up on this team that doesn't have many of those options. He probably plays 30 minutes, and he's only 10% rostered on Yahoo. So we're going to talk streams of the day later on in the show, but just be aware that Grayson Allen is going to feature really heavily in this because of the things that are happening with the Phoenix Suns. Let's just do a quick update on some key injuries that we do need to pay attention to. And I believe, as I have done this, that some things have actually happened. Well, Mitchell Robinson has been ruled out already for load management. Josh Hart is out as well for the Knicks, and Karl-Anthony Towns is questionable. So even though I've said, hey, we've got to watch to see what's going on with Mitchell Robinson, he's out. So Gershon Yabusele is there. Like, he's going to have to do stuff, because what if Towns is out as well? And you're going to see maybe Ariel Hukporti in that mix as well. Jaylen Brown's a big injury update too. He's questionable, left a preseason game with a hamstring issue. Josh Minott would be the big beneficiary there. And somehow Jalen Suggs is listed as questionable now. I really do not think that he will play. We haven't seen him do anything. He hasn't played in preseason. I think he's done one practice. If he is out, Tyus Jones will play. But I will be surprised if Suggs is out there, but he could be. And that is, of course, one of the key situations that we need to monitor. So what are we watching across these games? There are 12 of them. We're going to go faster than we did yesterday because there's only 2 games on for those, for Tuesday's games. Let's take a look at these 12 games of action across the NBA. The first game we look at is Brooklyn in Charlotte. The Hornets are 5-point favorites. I'm not going to read out what the individual schedules are for these teams. You can check them out on Basketball Monster. They're easy to find. They'll be up on the screen as well. If you're listening audio-wise, it doesn't really matter that much for this week as well. Hayward Highsmith is out. Grant Williams is out. Josh Green is out. And Trey Mann was questionable, but it looks like that Trey Mann is going to be available to play, so we're all good in that respect. What am I watching for in Brooklyn? Well, Nick Claxton. How much does he play? Because they can play Danny Wolf. They can play Day'Ron Sharpe. Is Claxton going to get back to the very good player that he was, or the nonsense that it was last season? For the Hornets, year 3, Brandon Miller. I'm pretty high on Brandon Miller for this season. I want to see what else does he bring. Is the three-point volume through the roof? Does he handle the ball a little bit more? Does he bring something defensively? If we're talking about streams in this game, I do like Day'Ron Sharpe in Brooklyn, and I expect that Moussa Diabate is going to be the starter for the Hornets. I think that Ryan Kalkbrenner, the big cock, will be sitting in the backup role, but I think Diabate is probably going to be the stream option for the Hornets. The next game that we take a look at is Miami and Orlando. The Magic are 8-point favorites at home against the Heat. Battle of Florida. Tyler Hero's out. Kasparas Yakichonis is out. I had Kelly Ware as probable, but now he is officially questionable with an ankle sprain. So, we pay attention to that. Mo Wagner is out in Orlando, and then Jalen Suggs is questionable. I do want to see what happens with Ware. Nikola Jovic is playing, so we know that news. Terry Rozier is playing as well, so almost certainly Jovic is going to start, but how much does Ware actually play with Bam, if he plays at all? Well, for Orlando, I want to see Desmond Bane. I know he's going to be fine. I know he's going to start. But what I've been down on Bane in the preseason, so I want to see information that refutes or backs up what I thought. Where his usage sits, what his ball handling looks like, and how his production looks. In terms of streamers, I don't know who starts for Miami, but I think it could be Drew Smith. And even if Drew Smith doesn't start, and it is Davion Mitchell, he's an interesting stream guy. While for Orlando, the Dart, Goga Badadze, fits through on my my numbers in terms of stream cutoffs. Now, yesterday you guys all answered the question, or a lot of you did, about whether Cason Wallace was rostered in your leagues. And giving that information where I was using 40% as a roster marker, I have to drop it down to 35 because it appeared like that Wallace, who was sitting at like whatever number he was, 30% rostered, 38% roster or something, was rostered in not really any 10s, but a lot of 12s. So it was probably one that I needed to crank down a little bit in terms of a cutoff for 12-10 leagues, as Yahoo, of course, has screwed us with this high score nonsense that they're throwing out there. Let's take a look at the third game of the day for Wednesday across the NBA. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. Again, a lot of the stuff I want to look at opening night and first couple of games for each team is the guys that I was either incredibly high on or low on. And for Cleveland, that's Jarrett Allen. I was worried about what the minutes would look like. Now, I do think that they might be higher earlier in the season when Max Strus is out, but I need to see how he looks. Now, the Knicks are 2-point favorites here. When I did this, I think that might change given who is out. I don't want to see Towns. Now, I have been a little bit down on Towns, but he is questionable. Robinson is out. Hart is out. So I'd say that Towns is going to be able to be pretty good here. So I'm not going to make sweeping judgments on Towns' value. Now, of course, we could be in a situation where there's no Towns and no Hart. And there's no Robinson. So Yabusele starts. Huck Porty starts. They could be really in trouble here. We get more Jordan Clarkson off the bench. We get Juice McBride possibly in the starting lineup as well, which I wouldn't be surprised if, given Hart is out and Robinson's out, I'd say Juice probably does start in this game. In terms of stream guys, I look at Sam Merrill in Cleveland, who probably starts with Darius Garland out. I haven't gone through those injuries there. Max Strus is out. Darius Garland, there was some reports that he was doing work in practice and he might be back. It looks like he's going to be back pretty soon. He is officially out now. So that's good that we at least got the clarification on that. We had DeAndre Hunter dealing with a knee issue in preseason, so he's officially questionable as well. Josh Hart is out. Robinson is out. OG Anunoby is officially listed as probable, and Towns is now on the injury report as questionable. And then for streaming for the Knicks, it is Yabusele, given that there's no Robinson, there's no Hart, there might not be any Towns. But you also could look at Huck Porty, or you could look at McBride in that game. There's just lots of stuff that is changing with that matchup in particular. We're going to come back. We've got a lot more games to talk about. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of the start of the NBA season with Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. It's fun playing on Prize Picks. The simple way to add more excitement to watching basketball. You pick more or less on the player projections. It might be Luka and his scoring. You might look at Austin Reeves and assists. It's Steph Curry, his threes. It's Jimmy Butler on opening night. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whatever it is. You can put that all together plus on PrizePicks. Now, they've got stacks. So you can ride with players and select multiple of their individual stats and stack them together. That's what stacking means. Plus, opening night, if you want to get in before that, Steph Curry got a 0.5 points more or less projection on that, which is just obviously easy money. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but you got to do it. So if you do it, you might as well get something for it. And that's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payments into real rewards that you can actually use. You pay rent through Built. You earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, future rent payments, your next Lyft ride, and more. So getting a great way when it's an expense you've got to pay anyway, and you're getting something back from it, that's just fantastic. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That is joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that link so that they know that we sent you. We are here talking about a preview for Wednesday. There are 12 games on across the league. We're taking a look at the things that I am watching for. So we might as well get into the next game there. That Cleveland Knicks game is really intriguing now that we've got those weird injury updates. The Mitchell Robinson one is quite concerning. Obviously, he played in preseason and now he's missing the opener and they're managing his load. Giggity, like why? What is going on? Be transparent, you idiots. Anyway, Toronto and Atlanta. The Hawks are 5.5-point favorites here. Jacoby Walter and Colin Murray-Boyles are out. That Murray-Boyles one seemed to come out of nowhere. I didn't really see anything on that, but they're the only two injuries, so Jakob Poeltl is fine to go. What am I watching for in Toronto? Scott Barnes. Bad preseason, but the last preseason game for him was really good. But where does he fit? With Ingram, with Barrett? Where's his usage sort of slide? That's what we want to see. And for the Hawks, how much does Onyeka Okongwu play? We're expecting that Kristaps Porzingis starts, so how much does Porzingis play? Does Okongwu play 20 minutes? Does he play 26? Because it's a big difference. In terms of stream guys, Sandro Mamukelashvili is probably the Raptors stream guy with Murray-Boyles out. I'm not particularly excited there. While for the Hawks, we're looking at Nickeil Alexander-Walker with his 20 to 25 minutes or so coming off the bench behind Dyson Daniels and Trae Young and Zachary Ricochet, of course. The next game we take a look at here, we're going to Philadelphia and Boston. Jared McCain is out. Trendon Watford is out. Paul George is officially out. VJ Edgecombe is available. And Jaylen Brown is questionable with that hamstring issue. The Celtics are 2.5-point favorites, which I'm not really sure about that, but that tends to indicate that maybe Jaylen will play. Joel Embiid is playing, so that's sorted. He is there, and I expect there'll be some sort of minutes limit on him, maybe 28, I don't know. What I also want to see for Philadelphia is Quentin Grimes. Now, I don't know whether Grimes will start. I think that it's going to be between Adem Bona and Dominic Barlow. I don't think they want Kelly Oubre playing the 4. So I think it's going to be either Bona or Barlow that starts. So how much does Grimes play? How small do they go in these alignments? And then for the Celtics, I'm expecting that it is the Pascal Donata Nemesh Keita who is the starting center. But it could be Chris Boucher. Do they do it where a situation if Brown is out, Hauser moves down, Boucher at the 4, Keita at the 5? 24 minutes of Keita is probably going to be enough. 17 will not be. But don't be surprised if Sneaky Joe Mazzulla goes a 12-man rotation and a lot of these guys play minutes that aren't useful. Kelly Oubre is available in a lot of spots, guys, and there is obviously no McCain, no Watford, no George. So Oubre just should be grabbed and used for the time being. You could say the same thing for Grimes and Edgecombe if they are available. And then for the Celtics, I think there is upside here in Josh Minott if Jaylen Brown is out, and you can also throw Keita and Sam Hauser into that mix of options there too. The next game we go to here, we're talking the Pelicans and the Grizzlies. The Grizz are 4.5-point favorites. I'm not so sure about that one. That seems a little off to me. DeJounte is out. Kevon Looney is out. Carlo Makovic is labeled as doubtful. Not that I thought he was going to be in the rotation anyway. And then you get to the big ones in Memphis. No Zach Edey, no Milk Jerome, no Scott Pippen, no Brandon Clark. Demetrius Morant, we always expected that he would play opening night, the week-to-week designation. I guess scared a lot of people. He is playing. He is not on the injury report. But then also out of nowhere, we got heel soreness for Vince Williams, which opens up. Now, he's been terrible in preseason, Vince Williams. That opens up Cedric Coward to do some stuff for deeper league. So pay attention to that. The Pelicans, Derek Queen, we have not seen him since Summer League, but he is cleared and available. I would be very doubtful if Queen jumps into the starting lineup. I think that it'll be Eve Messi. I hate the pairing of Queen with Zion at center, and I hate the pairing of Messi. It's like the Pelicans went out of their way to choose the worst options possible to put next to Zion Williamson. But I want to see what they do with Queen straight up here. How does he look? How does the defense look? Can he shoot? How does he share the court with Zion? That is a key thing because they obviously gave up a lot to get him, and I want to see what it looks like. For the Grizzlies, with all these guys out, how does Jalen Wells look? There's no Vince Williams. All his backup guards are gone. Wells' usage was up, and he looked better in preseason. So I think he's worth at least taking a look at in 12s. In terms of streamers for the Pelicans, Eve Messi's not qualifying here according to the metrics that I'm using, but he's an option clearly. But otherwise, go to Jose Alvarado. And then in Memphis, I do not believe that you want to be a long-term holder of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but with Williams out, with Milk out, with Pippen out, KCP is at least worthy of a stream for points and for threes and steals. The next game, we're going to go to Detroit and Chicago. We've got the Pistons 4-point favorites on the road. Injuries, Jaden Ivey is out, Kobe White is out, Zach LaVine is out, and then the Bulls had a bunch of injuries that we were uncertain about. Now, I believe we've just got some clarity on all of those. Yeah, they're all in. Ayo Dosunmu, Isaac Okoro, and Patrick Williams. But we did have Karis LeVert pop up with a probable tag in Detroit and Marcus Sasser with a doubtful tag. So I would think that Denise Jenkins could jump into that Sasser role, which is not going to be particularly large anyway. So what am I watching for in Detroit? Asar Thompson. Simple as that. How much does he play and how much ball handling and usage does he get? For the Bulls, Vooch. He's looked bad in preseason. How do they run the usage? Now, there is no Kobe White, but there's Buzz Ellis, there's Giddey. You're going to have situations where you're going to run through a million different guards into these lineups. How does Vooch look and how does he get used and how does the shooting look? I think Duncan Robinson and LeVert are both solid streams for Detroit. And then Trey Jones and Ayo Dosunmu in Chicago. Now, I don't know that they'll start Jones. I think they will. I think they'll go Jones and Giddey together, but it could be Herter. It could be Dosunmu as well. And I think both Dosunmu and Jones, and to a lesser extent Herter, have some 12-team stream appeal. The 8th game of the day. There's a lot of them. The 8th game of the day, we're talking about the Washington Wizards. We're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. As my thing freezes. All right, that's better. The Bucks are 9.5-point favorites here. Bilal Coulibaly is out. We know this. And the Bucks, sorry, they don't have anybody on the injury report. And then we've got Will Riley as questionable. Not even certain that he's going to play, to be honest. I want to see Alex Sarr. What does the field goal percentage look like? Does he take more shots at the rim versus three-pointers? And what does his playing time look like? For the Bucks, Kevin Porter Jr. and the whole point guard rotation. Does Porter play 30 or is he a 24-minute guy with Ryan Rollins coming in? In terms of stream guys, Chris Middleton against his former team, I think he's a really strong stream and he's worth having for now. And then Gary Trent on the Bucks side of things is a nice threes and steals option, very similar to the way we just talked about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. If we go to the next game, Clippers, Jazz. Could be a pretty sizable blowout, I would guess. The Clippers are 9.5-point favorites here. In terms of injuries, Chris Dunn is questionable. For the Clippers, George Niang is out. We don't have an official update on Isaiah Collier yet, but he didn't play in preseason, so I'm going to put him on the doubtful side of questionable, while Ace Bailey is now probable. So, again, I wasn't that worried about the tendonitis. They're being cagey about it, and I do think that's setting up for future rests. But Bailey should be available. And then you've got Kyle Anderson questionable. On the Clippers, how does the Ivica Zubats, Brook Lopez situation play out? Also, John Collins, is he starting or not? And then in Utah, I do want to see Ace Bailey. How much usage does he get? What does his shooting percentages look like? In terms of stream guys, Bogdanovic is a pretty good streamer for the Clippers. And then Taylor Hendricks is an available guy for the Jazz, who I do think will start and will be a pretty solid stream option for them. We're getting through them. We're down to the 10th game of the day now. Spurs, Mavericks. This should be an absolute cracker. The Mavericks are 2.5-point favorites here at home. We know that De'Aaron Fox is out for the Spurs. We know that Jeremy Sohan's out. The Hall Pass legend Lindy Waters III is out. Kyrie's out. Dante Exum's out. And Daniel Gafford, I had him as questionable. He's been downgraded to doubtful, so he won't play. So will they actually go to Anthony Davis at center? They'll be idiotic if they don't. But otherwise that means they're playing Dwight Powell. And again, it enables your other players to get into better positions on the court. But we'll see what they do. I want to see Stephon Castle because his preseason was pretty good. I'm still very, very worried about his percentages, and I worry about how the usage plays with the other guys on this team when they're going full out. how does that interplay with Dylan Harper too? For the Mavs, what do they do with Washington? Does he start? Does D'Lo start? Does PJ play 32? Irrespective, I need to see it. Stream guys, Luke Cornett and Victor Wembanyama playing together a lot. And with Jeremy Sohan out, more opportunities for Cornett. He's a good streamer. And then Najee Marshall in Dallas is a pretty good option there too. Let's get into the next one. Second last game of the day. One of the late ones. Sacramento going to Phoenix. The Suns are 4-point favorites here. Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis are out. Dennis Schroeder apparently has an ankle problem, and then DeMar DeRozan has a bit of a groin issue. I think DeRozan will be fine. I think Schroeder should be fine as well. For Phoenix, the only player out is Jalen Green, which means that Mark Williams is available. And Jordan Ott, love the coach speak, said, no, it doesn't have a minutes restriction. He just got a target. Okay, so a minutes restriction then. I don't know what it is, but he is playing Mark Williams. So again, if you were worried that he wasn't, he is. For the Kings, I want to see Zach LaVine. I have been down on him and the whole Kings team in preseason, which may not play out in the opener considering Sabonis and Murray are both out. How does LaVine fit in with Westbrook and Schroeder and DeRozan, again, where we're utilizing the ball in terms of Keon Ellis as well? Like, how do they run this? Where does Malik Monk fit? Who starts for Keegan Murray? There are a lot of different ways they can go, and I'm probably going to be upset at all of them. For the Suns, it's Mark Williams. Like, is he playing 20 minutes? Are they running 4 centers? How does Ott run this? Streaming for the Kings, Drew Eubanks is available everywhere, and I think he's going to start at center. And then Grayson Allen, one of the better streamers of the day, is someone we're also looking at. The final game for Wednesday, the 12th game, Minnesota and Portland should be a really good game as well. And the Blazers have done us a huge favor. They've told us their starting lineup, and Jeremy Grant is coming off the bench. So we've got Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, Denny Avdia, Toumani Camara, and Donovan Clingan. The Wolves are 4.5-point favorites here. Jaden McDaniels, I've got him listed probable. Same with Leonard Miller. I don't think there's any concern about those guys. Scoot is out. Rob Williams is out. Matisse Thybulle got a questionable tag on him and a probable tag on Toumani Camara. I want to see what Naz Reid's minutes look like in Minnesota. Is he just 24 minutes? Or do they find a way to get that triple big lineup out there? And then Denny. What does Denny's role look like with Grant now on the bench? Is Denny a 30-minute player or a 33-minute player? Where's his usage at? What does his ball handling look like? Can he put up the numbers that maybe make him a top 40 player? I want to see that. I like Mike Conley as a stream guy for Minnesota. And then for Portland, Young Hun Sen, who will be the backup center and will probably get 18 minutes at least, I would guess, coming off the bench. Now, I don't love him as a 12-team long-term guy very clearly, but I do think that in terms of streaming, there is value there in him. We're going to come back and talk streams of the day, but today's episode is brought to you by a new sponsor, and it is, now despite how it looks, it's pronounced Rougiette, which again doesn't look like it's how it's pronounced, but it is how it is. So, making excuses for how it's pronounced, for other things as well, doesn't solve anything. You've heard it all before. I'm tired. Happens to everyone sometimes, but you want to make sure your performance is working. Sometimes your body needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, and no in-person appointments. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. So visit REGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 50% off your first order. That is RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use the code LockedOnNBA so that they know that we sent you. Rougiette. Stop making excuses and start making moves. I almost read that as start making movies, which I guess with Rougiette that would maybe help. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's not my business. All right. Let's talk some schedule type plays now. What are we looking for in terms of maximizing our action for the schedule, as we always do in these preview shows? Right, there are no back-to-backs Wednesday to Thursday. So let's take a look at some chunks. So what is a chunk? We're talking about what's happening over the next 5 days on streaming usable days, which includes not Wednesday and not Friday. But these players are all worth looking at, and a lot of them have got 3 games. Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin, Jay Huff, the Hong Kong Mattress, Kaysen Wallace, who'll have 2, and then Ben Shepherd. So a lot of Pacers, because after Tuesday, the Pacers have 3 quality games the rest of the week. So there's value in using these players in that sort of a situation. Now, in terms of 5s and 2s, again, another segment that we did last season, and if you want to know what that means, is what happens in the next 7 days, because we love looking at things. Hey, a week starts on Monday, it ends on Sunday. Oh, this team's got a 5-game week. That's really bad. They've got really good. They've got a 2-game week. That's really bad. But we don't ever pay attention to 7-game chunks through the season. So starting on Wednesday through to next Tuesday, the Rockets have a bad schedule. They play 2 games. So that's bad. So if you're looking at Steven Adams on Tuesday, which you might be aware that following that, Wednesday through to Tuesday next week, the Rockets have 2 games. It is a 2-game week for Rockets players. Now, I don't advise dropping a Reed Shepherd or even a Jabari Smith, who I'm not that high on this season. But just if you were looking at Rockets players and you're in deeper formats, just be aware that the 5 games and the 5-in-2s aren't favorable to Houston at the moment. So let's take a look at the streaming options again. For most of you, you probably won't be able to stream on Wednesday, and that's okay. But who are the streams of the day? Again, I've made some adjustments to some of the percentage rostered cutoffs with these guys, but for a 10-team league, we're looking at Grayson Allen. For a 12-teamer, we are looking at the big fella in Charlotte, Moussa Diabate. I don't know that he's starting, but I think he will. I've got him projected at 25 minutes and 27 fantasy points. He's 7% rostered as well, so he's going to be available, I'm guessing, in all 14-team leagues. Now, this would be interesting as well. You're in a 12-team league. Do you have Moussa Diabate available? Because he's 7% rostered. So where does Moussa sit? Is he grabbed? Is he not? But he's an interesting 12-team league stream option, I think. For 14-teamers, I'm going with Dylan Brooksy Brooks. And then for deeper leagues, 16-teamers, again, I'm trying to adjust these cutoffs because a lot of people said, man, in my 16-teamer, all the options you gave us were all taken. What about Colin Gillespie? There's no Jalen Green. Gillespie should be the backup point guard behind Devin Booker, and I think he's going to have to share the court with Booker. So Colin Gillespie. Yahoo points and ESPN points, I'm going with Grayson Allen as my best stream pick for both of those formats. So let's just dig in a little bit more here. Let's go shallow leagues for categories, 10-teamers. Grayson Allen, Ayo Dosunmu, Moussa Diabate, Chris Middleton, and Dylan Brooks, all looking pretty good to me there. If you're in a 12-teamer, look at that list, see if anyone's available. And then, if they're all gone, go to this next grouping, which is my 12-team list. Drew Eubanks should be the starting center for the Kings. Maybe Dario Saric is in there too, I don't know. Colin Gillespie, Trey Jones, Ryan Dunn, and Kelly Oubre Jr. Of course, Gershon Yabusele and Ariel Hakporti are going to get big bumps if Karl-Anthony Towns is out also. For your deeper leagues for categories, we've got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Vanderpants Kevin Huerter, Day'Ron Sharpe, Duncan Robinson, and then the projected starting center for the Grizzlies is Jock Landale. Jock Landale. Not Jaren Jackson and Santi Aldama next to each other. Likely Aldama off the bench. Lastly, points league streaming. Who are my options here? Grayson Allen, Jalen Wells, Quentin Grimes, Chris Middleton, and Moussa Diabate. If they're available, check them out. And that, dudes, is a preview for 12 games on Wednesday in the NBA. Later today, recap of opening night. It's coming. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, so make sure you are subscribed and double banged and hyping it up, all that stuff. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. It's good to get back into the swing of things. See ya.